We should also mention that there was a snafu that maybe not everybody caught. And I mean, when this card was announced and you knew, okay, Rock's champ and he's going to be wrestling Stone Cold. Stone Cold's the hottest wrestler in the entire world, maybe in the history of the world at that point.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a surprise, but still, Michael Cole would say when he's just before the match starts that after our show tonight, turn on the Home Shopping Network where the new WWF champion will appear. So it's a little bit of a spoiler, but whatever.
What were we thinking? Pay attention. That's just he got directed to what to say,
Yes.
and in hindsight, he shouldn't have said it. Hey,
Right.
I sat there on those headsets where Vince would tell me to say something, and I would refuse. And then he would come on the headset during a video package or a commercial break or whatever, and want to know if I heard him. And I said, yes, I did hear you. But before the show, you said to not go there. And here's why you said it. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So he said, well, you did good by not saying it. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't that big a deal. But a guy's got a right to change his mind or to make a mistake. And I knew that the mistake would be made if I opened my mouth and said what he instructed me to say, because he just told me an hour and a half ago or 2 hours, don't go there. And I remembered that. I remember my instructions. So I didn't go there. So that's kind of where that was. But I thought that was a good show. I thought the pay-per-views are driven, Conrad, by the main event talent.
Yes.
And the main event talent in this show, Steve and Rock, delivered. And they delivered in a big, big way. I don't know that we could have had it any better because their chemistry was so grand, and they're so talented, so athletic, and maybe more than anything, so motivated. So I've always loved that marriage. That's why the guy's got 3 WrestleMania main events, one-on-ones. And when's the last time that's happened?
Right.
I can't remember. Maybe there's been somewhere isolated. There's been somebody that had multiple single main events in WrestleMania, but I can't think of what they would be off the top of my head.
We got to do a few questions here, and then we'll put a bow on this one. I personally was a fan of the heel turn because I love JR so much. I like Austin's heel turn. It just felt unnatural. In your opinion, what is the key to a great heel turn? When and why should it be done? And are those who should never turn heel because it's just too unbelievable? So do you think there's go ahead.
I think so. That last sentence, yeah, I think so. I think there's a time and a place, so to speak. It's all judgment calls. It's not an exact science. Austin being a heel was inevitable. He, like you said earlier, he was the most over guy in wrestling globally. Maybe the most over guy that the business has ever seen. As far as JR is concerned, it was just bad booking. It didn't make any sense. But we wrote it out as best we could and played out our role. I did what I was told to do because I was accepting the man's money. And my old man would have freaked out if he knew how much money I was making and that I was having trouble with my role. You got to be shitting me. So that's how I look at that thing, Conrad. I broke it down to basic stuff, and I'm glad that it did. So there's no hard science in turning somebody heel. It's generally best when you turn somebody heel that they're already over, not that they're getting over. And so but there's a lot of, it's a feel thing more than anything, I believe.
Let's talk about Chico 1680. He has a great question here. He wants to know, was there heat in 99 between Russo and JR? I'm trying to figure out how anyone could think a heel JR would have worked when he's coming off a serious stroke following his mother's passing, and the fact that Michael Cole was not popular with the WWF audience during that period of time.
Oh, a little bit of philosophical differences between Russo and I. I don't want to fall in that Cornette camp that deeply, But philosophically, Vince and I had our differences of opinion. I'm glad that over the years, all that stuff's been laid to rest, because it's the same thing with Ed Ferrara. You know, not t- over time, Ed and I have spoken and talked through this thing. He didn't like doing that gimmick a lot either. So, but again, we had marching orders. You're put into a school play. Here's your role. Learn your lines. It's really kind of that simple, and hopefully you'll be able to execute, pull it off.
Tom wants to know, was the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 15 so bad because of unrealistic expectations? Jim, I think that's a fair question. I mean, the bar was set so high with Hell in the Cells in the past. Could it ever live up?
No, not to the previous Hell in a Cell matches. I mean, how do you compare that Hell in a Cell match with something like Taker and Shawn, for example? You can't do it. You don't have the horsepower. So, yeah, I thought that WrestleMania 15 or the Hell in a Cell was just underdelivered, and I felt bad for Taker, as I said earlier. He deserved better, and we just missed the mark there. We gave too much expectation. We thought that between the two of them and the toys around the ring, et cetera, that everything would be cool, and it wasn't. They just couldn't live up to the hype.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-Free Shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.